Alright, welcome back to another pick video. This is a pick video for March 12th, 2022. Had a pretty interesting night last night. Kind of broke even. Definitely didn't turn out how I expected it did. But we're going to hop back into this one and try to get this money here tonight. As always, if you guys like this video, found it helpful in any way, go ahead and drop me down a like down below and subscribe to the channel. Helps me keep pumping these videos out for you guys. So let's go ahead and get started for this one. First guy on the list here, we have Steph Curry. Currently listed as the highest game total on the slate at 237.5, with a very tight spread at 1.5 currently. So we should see a back and forth matchup with plenty of spots here in this highly anticipated matchup between the Bucks and the Warriors. Recently, the Warriors have been struggling a bit. They had a 5-game losing streak before they came into a game versus the Clippers, and since then they've been righting the ship. Now they're currently on a 2-game win streak. Makes sense, but with the Warriors getting back on track, Steph here is getting back on track as well. As he had his best game in a little bit of a time, scoring 53 points last time out against the Nuggets here. Also has the best matchup currently of all the Golden State Warriors starters, as the Bucks have been allowing the 4th most fantasy points to point guards over the last 5 games. In particular, to upper tier point guards, as we saw most recently versus the Bucks, Trae Young dropped 51 and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dropped 70. So certainly a recipe setting up Steph Curry here for some success. Next guy we have on the list here, Donovan Mitchell. He was featured in last night's pick video. Did fairly well, and here he is again. Another high game total here, currently at 230, and Utah is currently tied for the second highest team total. So definitely Vegas is expecting Utah to score some points here, and the most likely guy to do that is Donovan Mitchell. Currently a back-to-back set, second leg of a back-to-back for the Jazz here. So look out for a possible Mike Conley being rested tonight. And we still have Bojan Bojanovic currently listed as questionable with that injury, so he may sit out this game as well. If any one of those guys were to sit out, definitely expect a boost for Donovan Mitchell here. But regardless if they both play, I still love Donovan Mitchell here. Also a great pace-up spot for the Jazz here, as the Kings play at a very fast pace, and the Jazz historically play at a slower pace as usual. And that pace-up matchup should definitely help Donovan Mitchell here, as he's a guy who loves the rim run, drives to the basket, score inside the paint. And it also increases the likelihood of steals here, as that can only help raise Donovan Mitchell's ceiling in this matchup. Also coming to this matchup versus Sacramento with pretty good history versus them this season, as he's averaged 45 fantasy points versus the Kings over 3 games this season. Next guy on the list here, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo. The other side of this highly anticipated Golden State Warriors and Milwaukee Bucks matchup. Giannis, simply put, has been playing extremely well since the All-Star break. He's been averaging 62 fantasy points over a 7-game stretch. So that's almost 6 times value at 11,000 price tag. He's priced up a little bit higher than that, but certainly has the ceiling to get above that 60-point threshold that he's been averaging here. During that stretch, he's also been very efficient shooting the ball, which has kind of helped him keep this steady high average of about 60 points a game. He's also been getting to the line a lot. He's been averaging 14 free throw attempts since the All-Star break, so that gives you basically a free 14-point floor for Giannis there. And with such a high scoring ceiling, he's able to still produce these high scoring fantasy outputs, even if he doesn't rack up the stats in other categories such as reboundings, assists, and defensive stats. I believe the game where he had the least amount of peripheral stats last time out against the OKC Thunder, and that was one of his best games during the stretch, scoring almost 70 points. So certainly a guy who can get it done through multiple avenues, and he certainly should find a way to get it done tonight. No one currently on the Golden State Warriors who can match up with Giannis defensively. Their best option, Draymond, is still out. Their second best option, probably Otto Porter, has been ruled out with the illness he's been dealing with for a couple of days now. So that leaves Kevon Looney and or Andrew Wiggins as the main defender. And these guys haven't really been doing a good job of stopping anybody, as we've seen both LeBron and Jokic have their way down low with the Golden State Warriors, and that's where Giannis likes to do most of his work. Also, another guy coming in with great history versus this matchup. Last time out versus the Warriors this season, he scored 65 fantasy points in only 30 minutes. Should definitely see him get more than 30 minutes here, so definitely has a chance to break that 65 cap. Another guy on our list here, Brandon Williams. Currently a matchup against the Washington Wizards, who are coming off a first game of the back-to-back, so they're their second game of back-to-back tonight. so should be playing with some tired legs. We already saw Porzingis getting ruled out on this back-to-back, so they're down one of their main players. With that, this game should stay a lot closer than we have seen these Trailblazer games been since the All-Star break, as excuse me, a lot of their guys have been down with injuries. So this game should definitely be one of the closer ones they've had since. And Vegas seems to agree with the spread currently listed at 6. In his first game without Anthony Simons, Brandon Williams was very, very popular, and he lived up to the hype, scoring 50 fantasy points that game. But was a major letdown in his second start, only scoring 14. Since then, he has a price hike up to about 5,000, and this will scare many people off as they see the price hike, and they have that recency bias of that 14-point game. So a lot of people are probably going to stay away. But 5K is simply too cheap for a point guard who's carrying 35 and 33% usage over his last 2 starts, and a guy who's shown us that he can explode at any time for 50 fantasy points, which is 10x his salary here. So I think it's a nice low-owned play that we can take advantage of, that most of the public will probably be off. Last guy on the list here, we have Kyle Lowry. It's probably my favorite GPP play on the site. Very major boom and a major bust play here. We can start off with the pros. First pro here, we currently have no Jimmy Butler for the Heat, so they should rely more on Kyle Lowry to shoot the ball more, handle the ball more. All around should boost his offensive production. He's also going up against a Minnesota team that has been bleeding fantasy points to point guards, as they've allowed the 7th most fantasy points to point guards over the last 15 games. And they're also currently down Patrick Beverley, who we all know is a pretty good defender, and is their main defender when it comes to guarding guys who are handling the ball. And point guards have usually thrived in this spot without Patrick Beverley. Now, on the flip side of the cons here, Kyle Lowry simply has just been awful since his, in terms of fantasy, since his arrival from his personal issue hiatus. He's basically just been standing out in the court and running up and down the court. He's in these past 3 games he's been back, he's currently averaging 8.7% usage rate, which is insanely low. 3 shot attempts a game, which again is insanely low, and only 18 fantasy points a game. So with those kind of numbers coming into this matchup, it's definitely not a very intriguing play. But if you believe that Kyle Lowry can kind of put it together, especially with Jimmy Butler being out, and is able to take advantage of this great spot he's in, he can certainly be one of the higher scoring point guards on the slate, or he can continue the trend of him just standing out there and running up and down the court. So definitely a big boom bust guy here. If you're feel risky, definitely the guy for you. If you're a more risk averse, more of a cash game guy, I'd probably stay away. So that's going to wrap up this video. Again, if you guys like these plays, found them helpful anyway, like the video, also subscribe to the channel as it helps me keep pumping these out, and I'll see you guys again.